The Fall Classic begins tonight. Who should be the favorites? Who are the X factors? And whether a win would mean more for the Braves or the Astros. And I wonder if all those big celebrities will be there tonight, or do they only go to the basketball games in Brooklyn? Look at this. It's an SNL cast reunion. Andy Samberg, that's David Spade, and Pablo. You know all the big ones. I like that.
What's Pablo?
Chris Kattan.
Yeah. All of last
way back.
Way back.
Pablo, you get a point. That's a little street cred for you right now. We are hours away from the first pitch of Game 1 of the World Series. The Braves and the Astros, just like I'm sure you all had before the season started. No, you did not, so forget that. Just like you all knew it would be Yordan Alvarez and Eddie Rosario tearing the covers off baseballs for the Braves. Believe it or not, over 20 years since that 90s run of dominance. And then for the Astros, a chance to make a second impression, if you know what I mean. Tonight, it's Charlie Morton for Atlanta, Framber Valdez for Houston. So Clinton, now before we start, Clinton, you hosted last week. You get a point. I won. You get a second point. Now tell me, who has the advantage in Game 1 at Minute Maid Park?
I think it's got to be the Astros. Speaking of hosting, teams that have been at home in this post-series are 21-10, and that's just, to me, the most basic advantage that comes down to it when it comes to baseball. On top of that, the Stros are a team with a killer lineup. It's as simple as that. The Braves are going to have to figure things out on the base paths. They're one of the most aggressive teams when it comes to how they run and how they score runs. EY Sr. at first, Ron Washington at third. That's how they're going to get it done. But other than that, all the Astros got to do is sit back, get their plate approaches right, and hit the ball, and they'll get to that Braves pitching because they're a better baseball team ultimately than Atlanta.
Ramona, maybe you didn't hear, but the Dodgers, they didn't make it. What about this series?
Yeah.
What about Game 1?
Look, I watched that Astros series very closely. Obviously, watched the Braves series very closely. Those Braves, I don't know how they're winning. Okay, they're getting incredible performances from their starters, from their bullpen. Eddie Rosario is hitting beach balls out there. You ever been on a run on the show where the host just keeps giving you points and just giving you points and giving you points? That's Eddie Rosario there. Okay, like he's anything you throw to him, he's hitting. And I think the Braves. I know we all want to focus that they had the worst record of all 10 postseason teams, 88 wins. They were 40-21 after the All-Star break. Yeah. They have a lot of momentum in, and I don't even think you can think of this Braves team as the same team as the one that started the year because they have an entirely new outfield, and they have Jorge Soler back where he can hit DH in this series.
All right, Tim. Texas, the state of Texas, is in the World Series.
Yes.
Not your Texas Rangers. What about Game 1 tonight?
No. Well, we had the World Series here last year. It just didn't involve any Texas
You got me on that.
teams. So this is nothing new. For the Lone Star State. I disagree with Clinton that the Astros are the better team. I think they look like they have the better lineup because I think they've scored 27 more runs than the Braves. That's because they've been facing the Red Sox pitching and not the Dodgers pitching.
Yep.
There's a big difference in those two things. Charlie Morton, little advantage in experience to the Braves tonight. The DH, most National League teams don't get much benefit.
Yep.
I think it's a way to get Soler back into the lineup. He's certainly not going to platoon with Eddie Rosario. He's not coming out. So I think it makes that Braves lineup deeper, and I think tonight is the Braves night.
All right, Pablo, believe it or not, no Mets or Yankees in the World Series. What about Game 1 tonight, Braves and Astros?
Yeah, no, Frank, not a lot of star power when you look at these rotations. It's not like a great sign if you love pitching to see a bullpen game as the projected starter in like Game 4 or 5, right? So the story of the postseason, though, has been, pitching-wise, the bullpens. 54% of postseason innings have been thrown by relievers. And to
That's
me,
what the sport is now.
The Braves bullpen has been so wild, man. Will Smith was not supposed to be somebody who shuts out the world, who is the best closer going right now. Wasn't supposed to be a closer for this team at all, but they have 3 lefties at the back end of that bullpen, Frank, that they're going to lean on really heavily. And so, to Clinton's point, do the Astros have the better offense? I believe so. Top 7, really, really impressive. They alternate lefty-righty, but the Braves bullpen didn't get out anybody, and I think that's what it's going to come down to tonight in the whole series.
All right, you mentioned Will Smith. Did you also go to basketball games with him too, the famous actor? Or is it a different Will Smith?
Yeah, we often get
I can't keep up with you. All right, Clinton, we talked about Game 1. What's going to be the difference in this series?
The difference is going to be the Astros infield and their defense. There was a point where all 4 of these guys could have been all-stars. In my opinion, they've got the lockdown dirt players, and that's what's going to be harder to overcome for the Braves.
Even Altuve.
Yes.
He commits a lot of errors. Ramona, what's going to be the difference?
Look, I like the Braves pitching. I mean, they have 3 quality starters, and when you look at the Astros, the first 4 games of that ALCS, their starters combined for 6.2 innings, 6 2/3 innings. Okay, they only got a good outing when Framber Valdez went out there and had eight innings in his start. But you can't count on the Astros starters as much as I think you can count on the Braves starting pitching. And their bullpen, as Pablo mentioned, has been great. Those 3 lefties, A.J. Minter, Tyler Matzik, and Will Smith, 2 runs in 24 2/3 innings.
Tim, let me ask you
Lights
this.
out.
What about the whole scandal with the Astros? If they were to win this series, what does that do to the scandal in the past?
Well, I mean, it doesn't change the past, but it gives them one World Series win for sure that is untainted. I may not view the 2017 as tainted as some. Certainly there are problems with it, but this is years beyond that now, and this would add to their legacy if they can pull that off. I'm not totally sure they're going to.
What about that, Pablo? Just the scandal and the Astros if they were to win?
For the Astros and their fan base, it means so much, Frank. But if the question is, are the Houston Astros really this good? 5 ALCSs, 3 World Series. I mean, the book is closed on whether this team deserves to be here on the merits. The question is, will this ever do anything to convince anybody about 2017? And that, to me, is an argument that's never going to end.
Clinton, real quickly on the scandal with the Astros. What would this do if they were to win this series?
I think it would justify a lot. Let's not forget that they lost one when people thought they were cheating as well to the Washington Nationals, and this would be a good thing for Johnny B. Dusty Baker, who's the one who reclaimed the sanctity of that franchise.
Ramona doesn't think so, though. All right.
Yeah, I don't think it changes anything about 2017 or 18. If anything, it makes me look back and I'm sad about it. I look at them like I look at Barry Bonds. They did not need to cheat. They have a great team. They have a great roster. They still do. There's only 4 players left from those teams, though, so it's hard to have that all stick to them.
All right, from the glory of October to whatever that was last night in Seattle. Saints 13, Seahawks 10, us viewers 0. This one was sloppy, and it ended with a short field goal and a big road win for the Saints. Didn't it feel like Geno Smith took a sack on every big play late? Man. Tim, the Saints are 4-2. This is one of your favorite cliches. If the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs. But did they seem like a playoff team to you?
I love when the season ends just all over the calendar. Yes, they would be, and yes, they should be. It's very bizarre. The 5 best records in the NFL are in the NFC. All the teams with 1 loss, and in Arizona's case, no losses. Wow. The drop-off after that is immense in talent, and Green Bay jumps in. New Orleans jumps in right there. So, are they going to fall behind Minnesota? They're going to fall behind San Francisco or Atlanta? There's 3 wild cards. I got to think the Saints are getting one of them.
Yeah, that final drive for the game-winning field goal, that was painful to watch at times. Pablo, what about the Saints as a playoff team?
Yeah, look, Frank, in deference to Tim's theory of NFL seasons, the season is over for the Jets and Giants, right? Like the New York teams, it actually is over. Like we can actually stop paying attention to them. For the rest of the NFC, though, it's important to remember this basic fact. There are going to be 7 playoff teams. 7. And so the idea that the Saints, are they, in the top half of the league? Absolutely they are. I mean, Jameis Winston is a hilarious player that I would never want to invest my personal trust and sanity into. But the idea that he can be the quarterback of a playoff team in a conference, as Tim pointed out, that's full of lots of fat at the bottom, absolutely he can be.
Clinton Yates?
When I think about this team, I think about the online surveys you fill out, and you get 5 options: poor, mediocre, good, very good, excellent. The Saints are good. They're right in the middle. That's about it. Making the playoffs does not make them some sort of above-average team, in my opinion. And last night was an example of that. They found a way to get a win on the road. They're still trying to figure it out at quarterback, but good is about as good as it gets.
Ramona's going to tell us all about the Rams and the Chargers in L.A., but what about the New Orleans Saints?
Look, they'll probably make the playoffs. They have a good record. They're finding ways to get wins. I was going to talk about their defense and how they looked good, but then I was watching the Seahawks again, and they were not good. So it's hard to give them credit for that performance.
All right. Meanwhile, on the Seahawks front, let's go to Around the Horn's Northwest correspondent, Mina Kimes, speaking today on First Take.
Do you think the Seahawks should consider moving on from Pete Carroll?
I think that unless there's some dramatic changes, it has to be on the table.
Wow. Our girl, Pablo, crushing poor Pete Carroll. Is he the problem?
Right, Frank, when you lose the person who, I was at her wedding, I can say this, who wore a Seahawks helmet at her own wedding, things are not going well for you, Pete
Bad
Carroll.
for her,
And
good
look,
for
I
you.
know Hilarious in every way for content and meme reasons, of course, but she has a tattoo on her arm of the Super Bowl. Like, Pete Carroll has done a lot for fans in Seattle, but it does feel like his time has come to its logical end here. It feels like they're running an archaic offense, too. The whole team needs a changeover.
He lost the Kimes endorsement. What about that, Tim?
You know, she went on to talk about his clock management and issues there, which leads to my belief that whatever team you watch, you think that coach sucks at clock management.
Yes.
You believe he is terrible.
You're in Dallas. You know all about that.
No, well, in the case, it's true here, but I would just mean everywhere else. You think it's probably true. I would say no. I would say Pete Carroll's done a lot for them. Give him a year to dig out of this and see where he can go.
I agree. Plus, his quarterback is hurt. Ramona, what about Pete Carroll? Is that the problem?
I don't know. I live in LA, so I watch Sean McVay and Brandon Staley all the time.
I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was
walk
gonna
on water.
happen.
Look, Pete Carroll, to me, I don't think that he lost Mina. I don't think he did. I think they're just having a bad year. They don't have Russell Wilson, and the whole team is built around Russell Wilson. But it looks like he's coming back sooner than we expected. So, as bad as they look, as much as in the NBA, I would tell them to tank. I think in football, with as wide open as the NFC wildcard race still is, if he comes back in a week or two, they're still in it.
All right, Clinton, clean this all up first. What do you got?
I think there's also a question about whether or not we're going to be seeing Russell Wilson every day for the next couple years. You might have to start looking underneath that on the depth chart. Might be time to pick somebody to be a successor who can at least play, because you don't want Eugene Smith out there throwing passes every day for you. That's not going to work.
All right, there we go. Clinton 15, Ramona 14.
How quickly we jump off.
Pablo 14. This is how it works.
Very close.
We got buy or sell coming up. Maybe we'll buy or sell.
Rosario
How many
here.
celebrity
Keep
friends
feeding them.
Pablo has? What do you think about that? Let's name them. You need
Frank,
two hands.
My Italian
I think I have
American
more,
friend
but I
power
just don't put it
ranking,
on the
you're
gram.
a strong,
Big time.
You're a strong
You really
like
like it, though?
2B, I would say.
I have no idea what's going on.
Buy or sell one. The USC coaching search. Carson Palmer on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday made a case for Mike Tomlin as a possibility, but today, well, let's just hear Mike Tomlin say it.
Why would I have any interest in coaching college football? That'll be the last time that I address it. And not only today, but moving forward. Never say never, but never. There's not a booster with a big enough blank check.
Wow. Clinton, buy or sell Mike Tomlin here? And where does USC go from here?
I'm buying it as somebody who has asked a reasonable amount of brothers that age stupid questions and seen their reactions. I know when they're actually angry and upset. Tomlin is not trying to hear this noise because he is correct. Why would he go to a program that has no idea what's going on with itself when he's coaching in pro teams such as the Steelers?
Come on, Ramona. Is that true? They don't know what they're doing?
They haven't really since Pete Carroll left. I mean, they just went through all of assistants, right? He went through Lane Kiffin, they went through Steve Sarkisian, Ed Orgeron, Clay Hill. I mean, they haven't found an answer for their program since Pete Carroll left. And my sense out here in LA is they might want to test Tomlin's resolve on that never say never, never quote, and how big a blank check a booster can write, because there are some very wealthy boosters at USC who would really like to see their football program get the head coaching right. So he said never, but I think they didn't hear that. They'll just come back to him in a couple months.
Tim Kalishaw?
This is one of the stronger denials we get to hear, so I like that. But I understand it. It's like somebody coming up to me and saying, "Have you ever had an interest in being on Debatable? Is that something you could see yourself doing?" Like,
Well
500
played.
wins. Hello, I'm not going on Debatable. What are you talking about? Don't ever ask me that.
Well played.
Unless they have a lot of
Pablo's podcast. It's a special thing.
Tim,
good.
I have
you're
been
not
on that.
coming on debatable. Not with that attitude. Yeah, Tim, come on. How dare you? How dare you? Look, Greg,
He wins.
the thing about all of this, right, is that this is exactly what you would want Mike Tomlin to say if you were Mike Tomlin's agent, because it does feel like playing hard to get. Now, I understand that Mike Tomlin is resentful in real ways. He went on to say, why isn't Andy Reid asked this question? Why isn't Sean Payton asked this question? Very valid points. The question I have for Mike Tomlin is, do you want like a raise from Pittsburgh or not? Because this is kind of how this stuff goes, right? You get to become a candidate in the press, and somebody rewards you with more money for your trust.
I have 4 hotshot reporters on here. Not one of you mentioned that Mike Tomlin was at a college football game last weekend. Columbia, Dartmouth.
Wow.
Son plays for Columbia.
Yeah.
5-1. Go Lions. All right. The last time the Chicago Bulls were 4-0, there was a guy by the name of Michael Jordan who was on the team. Look
Wow.
at them now. Best record in the league. It's still early. Outscoring their opponents by 10 a game. Still early. All the new pieces fitting in right away. Ramona, what does this mean to you, what Chicago's doing?
Well, they beat 4 pretty bad teams so far, so we can't read so much into the 4
That'd be so
wins.
mean.
But I really like what they've done in the way they're winning. That defense with Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball, 2 former Lakers who were pretty good defensively when they were in LA. That defense is solid now, and I think we all saw the splashy additions, right, with Vucevic at the trade deadline and getting Zach LaVine here to play with DeRozan. But they're winning these games with defense, and if they're going to do anything, that will carry them.
Tim?
You know, last year at the trade deadline, they got Vucevic. I was one of several people on the show that thought, why are the Bulls, of all teams, they're not going anywhere. Why are they getting this guy whose whole career has been, in disguise in Orlando? We haven't really got a chance to see him play. And now they've got really good perimeter players around him. Lonzo Ball came into the league as a marginal three-point shooter. Now he's shooting well over 40%. Credit to him for making himself into what he is. And I think they're going to be a team that's in that 5, 6, 7 range in the East.
And all you hear is that Zach LaVine playing for the national team this summer. That was big, and he's going to make a lot of money after the season as a free agent. Pablo, give us your thoughts on the Bulls.
No, Zach LaVine, Frank, that's the top liner. What he's doing, like 26, 6 and 6 or something like that. He looks like an all-NBA guy. Vucevic, to Tim's point, is only shooting right now like 22% from 3, but because Lonzo Ball is shooting like 7.5 threes per game, making 43, and Alex Caruso is making LeBron James, I would imagine, think, wait a minute, we let the guy who's leading the NBA right now in deflections, his second in steals go. All of these ingredients don't really make sense in the abstract, but you put them together and you get a playoff team, it looks like.
Clinton?
You guys are missing the most ridiculous stat of all. Zach LaVine has never been part of a 4-game winning streak in his entire career, which is completely bananas when you think about everything that's going on with that franchise. Also, Frank, point of note, inside information. Earlier this year in the studio, I asked you, are the Knicks better than the Bulls? You said that they were. I think you had that one wrong, buddy.
Of course they are. All right.
Wow.
Well, again, Clinton Yates hosted last week. That's not the story. He had me win, so Clinton, and you had some good stats at the end as well.
What?
Ramona, you got a host and then have me win. Pablo's got a date with his celebrity friends.
What if I call it your radio show?
That's right. I'm dating
That's
Pete.
true. That's true.
That's right.
Lightning round with these two guys.
Go.
I'm nice to them now.
Here we go.
2 enter, only 1 will lead. Bad news in Green Bay. Davante Adams tested positive for COVID. And with a looming Thursday night matchup in Arizona against the undefeated Cardinals, well, that's pretty rough. Clinton, can the Packers win this one on a short week and without Aaron Rodgers' favorite target?
Absolutely not. That combination of things, I think, is just too much to overcome. Aaron Rodgers can do a lot of things like he did against, I don't know, the Bears, but he can't do everything against Tim's Cardinals in order to beat them.
Tim?
Here's the weird thing. Aaron Rodgers has played great without him when he's had to, and they're 6-0, but that is not against the undefeated Arizona Cardinals on a Thursday night in Glendale, Arizona. So, no, sir.
Aaron Rodgers'
That is
favorite
your
target is the media.
cannot win that
So
game.
both of you guys get a point taken away here. All right, let's talk a little hockey, and believe it or not, we're not going to talk about the Seattle Kraken. Fast starts to the season for the 6-0 Panthers, the 5-0 Hurricanes, the 5-0 Blues, and the 5-0 Edmonton Oilers. Tim, what's caught your eye this early in the season?
I got to lean toward the Florida Panthers. They played a very tough series against the Stanley Cup champs, Tampa Bay Lightning, last year. 6-0. They've scored at least 4 goals in every game. It's time for Joe Thornton to get a ring. Yes, Joe Thornton is a Panther.
It's got to be the Blues for me. 5-0 for the first time in franchise history, shutting people out with the backup goalie. Come on, what could you ask for on the ice?
First time in recorded history on the show. You're both right. How about that? All right, day 2 of Tom Brady's 600th touchdown ball. Yesterday, remember, it was $1,000 to the team store. Give me a break. Later, more details. He also got 2 signed Brady jerseys, a Brady helmet, a Mike Evans signed jersey, Mike Evans game cleats, 2 season tickets for this season, and a Bitcoin. How about that? Clinton, is that enough for you?
Yes, it was enough for me. Not only season tickets for this season, but also next season, which if you're a fan of the Bucs is what it comes down to. The experience of being able to see Brady play the end of his NFL career. Good job out of you, Buccaneers.
Tim?
I was out of this when it was tickets and merchandise and jerseys. The Bitcoin may have put me over the top. That is what the young man needs something that will have lasting value, not just seeing some football games.
Yeah, I know. Maybe you should have kept the ball. You know what, Clinton? A little sentimentality. I like that, so you get the point. Take the FaceTime.
Tonight, the World Series begins, and the third base coach for the Atlanta Braves is a man by the name of Ron Washington. Tim Kalishaw knows him well because he used to manage the Texas Rangers. Wash has been looking to get back in the bigs as a manager for a long time, and it hasn't happened. Let me tell you what Wash does. He improves your base running, but most importantly, he improves your infield play. Ask anybody. You know his drills. You know what he does. Wash deserves a job in the big leagues at the top. We'll see if it happens next year. There's a couple open gigs. The Mets have a spot. The Padres have a spot. We'll see what happens in Cleveland. We're rooting for you, buddy, no matter what happens on the field.
All right, give us a prediction before we go. What do you got?
Stros in 6.
Mona?
Stros.
Tim?
Braves,
Pablo?
7.
Yeah.
First
I'll
pitch.
go Braves.
8:09
I got a more
tonight.
important call to take, actually. Sorry.